Welcome back to North of the Broad. I'm your host, Karen Wyman, coming to you from Higher Ground in Buford. I'm joined this afternoon by Major Brian Tatterson from the Salvation Army of the Lowcountry.
Hello, Karen.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you.
So glad that you're here. I know we have a lot to talk about in a short amount of time, but one of the things we really should share with the viewers is how the Salvation Army touches people's lives here in the Lowcountry.
I guess one of the best ways to give maybe an example or two, about a few months ago there was a young lady whose husband had suffered the post-traumatic syndrome, and he chose to take his own life.
Oh, how sad.
They had been doing pretty good, but she chose substances to try and overcome it. And you can't really fault a person for what she had gone through, but she had lost her child, and it was felt that if she could just get out to the Midwest, I'm not going to pinpoint where, but and get to be with her parents, that maybe she could get her life organized. And you know, while I met her, she worked with our social caseworker, and she now has been able to get a full-time job out there and is getting much visitation with her child. Who knows, by now she may even got custody back of the child. So her life's back on track. So
obviously a success story, you know, and with the assistance that you've all provided at the Salvation Army, allowed someone to turn their life around.
Sure, and you know, as we work a lot with a lot of other agencies, I hate to mention just any one, but you know, we've worked in that case with other agencies to include the United Way, and you know, we've been doing much work with victims of the hurricane.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask, you know, obviously that the Salvation Army certainly must have picked up and helped those people who were affected by Hurricane Matthew.
Yes, and we've had a tremendous amount of support from the community as well. You know, but a case of Hurricane Matthew, as we've assisted of hundreds of individuals within many families. One such case is a lady who came to us, I would say very late in her middle age, having never needed help before, working in a successful career, but the place where she worked was on one of these outer edge banks, and it was devastated. And so for the first time she came to an organization like ours. She was usually someone who supported organizations like ours.
Looking for some help, so the roles in some way reversed.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, and we was able to help her, you know, keep her home, and once the lights finally came back on, to help her keep them on as far as with assistance and utilities.
That's wonderful. That's just good to know that, you know, the Salvation Army helps in so many different ways. And you obviously cited two very different examples of how you've been able to assist people here in the community. One of the things that we should mention is that, you know, about 2 years ago, the store moved from its old location to where it's currently at on Robert Smalls Parkway. And how's the store doing, and how does it help our community? The store is doing quite well. We've had our challenges, but anytime you open up a business or move a business, and we appreciated where we were and being able to move to a larger site, you have your challenges, and we've overcome a lot of challenges, and the store is doing a whole lot better and succeeding. Of course, the store makes sales, which the proceeds stay right here in the Lowcountry. But when someone comes to us and say they're a victim of the hurricane or the victim of a fire, or I wouldn't call it a victim, say over the summer, the little kids grow up to be a little bit bigger kids, and you need help. Maybe you don't need help in everything, but just
clothing,
can't meet that particular need.
Those things aren't charged. We don't ask anything for that. So you know, if you can contribute a piece of clothing to us, we may sell it, which may help that family, or we may end up giving it to somebody in need.
Got it. So obviously lots of ways for people here in the community in Buford to support the Salvation Army by making those donations, you know, whether clothing, household items. You take any larger furniture and things of that nature?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Clothing and furniture, bric and brac, nicks and knacks, you know, and anything that that is usable. You know,
in good condition.
Yeah, I used to wear a shirt 3 times as large as this one, you know, and if I lose another 30 pounds, maybe I'll donate this one.
Well, good for you.
You know, then somebody could go in and say, hey, I could buy a nice shirt, or, you know.
So I'm assuming that there is no typical day working, as an officer for the Salvation Army, that it's obviously a pretty unique job and something that you must get a lot of fulfillment out of all the accomplishments and all the growth that you see here and giving back in the community.
Oh, it's a very unique job, and I guess the best way to put it is definitely mountaintop highs and sometimes valley lows. And working the disaster, 11 straight days of what started out as 20-hour days. And toward the end of our recovery, our response, I should say, they were only 14-hour days. And we fed 7,000 people. And I would say that's definitely unique. That's definitely a challenge, but it's also a blessing the way the community has responded.
Well, we so appreciate you being a guest on the North of the Broad and all that you do for the Buford community and the surrounding area through the Salvation Army. Thank you so much for being a guest with us this afternoon, and we look forward to having you on our show again sometime soon.
Well, thanks, Karen, and thanks to all of those who support the Salvation Army and pray for the Salvation Army in our community and the efforts we put forth. We serve without discrimination. We're here to meet what needs we can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that wraps up this edition of North of the Broad.